Hi students, previously you all studied about the normal mechanism of labor. So today myself Babina Matthew, I am going to discuss about the topic malpositions and malpresentations. What is malposition? Malposition refers to any position of vertex other than the flexed occiput to anterior. So flexed occiput to anterior one is a normal position. So other than the flexed occiput to anterior one, that is the malpositions. So first we can discuss about the occipital posterior position. So occipital posterior position means when the occiput vertex presentation means when the head is in the lower position, that is a vertex presentation. So when the occiput plays posteriorly over the sacroiliac, this is a sacroiliac joint. When the occiput, this is the occiput, and the occiput point towards the sacroiliac joint directly over the sacrum, it is called as the occipital posterior position. You can see this is the occiput. So normally the occiput is points toward the iliopectineal eminence, that is in the normal mechanism of labor or normal position. It is the occiput point towards the iliopectineal eminence or anteriorly, but when it is located posterior, that is the posterior position, in that one the occiput that points posteriorly over the sacroiliac, this is the sacroiliac joint, so it is point towards the sacroiliac joint over the sacrum. When the occiput is placed over the right sacroiliac, right means our right side, so when it is placed over the right sacroiliac joint, you can see this one, this is the right sacroiliac joint, that is the called right occipital posterior position. It is traditionally called as third position of vertex. Right occipital anterior is first, and second is the left occipital anterior, and right occipital posterior is the third position. So that is traditionally known as third position of the vertex. Then when the occiput is placed over the left sacroiliac joint, this is the left side. So when the occiput is placed towards the left sacroiliac joint, it is called as left occipital posterior position. So traditionally we can call it as fourth position of the vertex. So you can see from this picture also, it is the right occipital posterior and left occipital. This is LOP and ROP. There is a mistake, but this is the ROP and the LOP. The incidence. At the onset of labor, the incidence is about 10% of all the vertex presentations. The causes are the shape of the pelvic inlet, that is pendulous abdomen is common in multiparous. When the pendulous abdomen is, you already studied in the previous class about the pendulous abdomen. So when the abdomen is pendulous, it's forward, is pushed forward, so that time and the head will be placed, or the occiput will be placed in the back side. So that is usually occur in the multiparous woman. Then android or andropod pelvis and high pelvic inclination and a flat sacrum with a poorly flexed head leads to further deflection. So when the further deflection occur, deflection means that usually this is the flexion. So when usually flexion occur, this is the baby, usually flexion. So deflection means flexion not occur properly. So when the deflection occur, because of the flat sacrum, it will be usually points towards the posterior position. Then next is the fetal factors. So marked deflection on the fetal head too often favors the posterior position of the vertex. The causes of deflection are high pelvic inclination, attachment of the placenta on the anterior wall of the uterus, and primary brachycephaly. Brachycephaly means, you can see from this picture, this is a brachycephaly head. So this is shorten the length of the lever from the frontal to atlanto-occipital joint, and thereby diminishes the effective movement of the flexion. You can see from this one, This normally the occiput is projected. but here one it will become a flat. So the normal diameters will be differ or different. That's why it will diminish the effective moment of flexion. So that's why head will become deflex and the occipital posterior position will occur. Next is the uterine factors. That is abnormal uterine contraction, which may be the cause or effect that leads to persistent deflection and occipital posterior. When the persistent deflection, that will cause this is deflection, so that will causes the posterior position of the head. Okay. Next, how can we diagnose the posterior or occipital posterior position? By the abdominal exam, there will be a saucer-shaped depression just below the umbilic. You can see from this, because usually the head is, if the head is in the anterior position, this is like a round portion. But when it is deflex, so the limbs and the head is in front portion, there will be a space in between the limbs and the head. So there will be a saucer-shaped depression can be seen just below the umbilicus. So in the inspection, abdomen looks flat and below the umbilicus, and palpation, the umbilical grip, the findings are fetal limbs are more easy, because when it is fitted forward, the limbs will be in forward position. So the limbs can be more easily felt near the midline or either in the side of the abdomen. Then the fetal back is felt far away. So when the baby is lies in the posterior position, the back is felt far away. It is the midline, so back is felt far away from the midline on either side. Both side. If it is right side, you can see this way, right side. If it is left side, position occipital posterior, left occipital posterior, we can feel in the left side. And the fetal back is felt far away from the midline on the flank and other difficult to outline clearly. So back we cannot be, the FHS cannot be here clearly in the midline. Then the anterior shoulder lies far away from the midline. You can see this is the anterior shoulder. So this anterior shoulder is this is anterior shoulder. So this anterior shoulder is for usually it will be can see in the infrared, but it will be far away from the midline. Okay. Then the next pelvic grip can be, the findings are head is not engaged. So because head is deflex, that's why head is not engaged. The cephalic prominence, the sinciput, this is the sinciput, is not felt so prominent as found in the well flexed occipital anterior. So well flexed anterior position, we can see the cephalic prominent here very clearly can be seen, cephalic prominent. But what happens in the sinciput? But in the this is the posterior position, the sinciput prominent cannot be seen because it's deflex. So we cannot feel the sinciput prominent. Okay. Then the auscultation, fetal heart sound can be heard in the back or the flanks. So because the baby is lying like this, so one side, the back is on the side. That's why we cannot see the we cannot hear the sound. Usually we hear the FHS sound in the just between the umbilicus and the upper iliac spine, between the spine, superior iliac spine. So in between the if we draw a imaginary line, we can feel the in the FHS. But it in the posterior position, we can sometimes here midline, sometimes we can see the midline because in the chest can be here. So that's why we can see the FHS in the midline. Otherwise, it can be seen in the flank. So the side line, flank can be here. This is a diagnosis of posterior position. Next, in the vaginal examination, the findings early in labor are elongated bag of milk because it is an ill-fitting presenting. The head is not flexed, that's why it is an ill-fitting presenting part. So that's why the elongated back membranes can be elongated. The bulging of the back can be seen, and it will be likely to rupture during the vaginal examination. Then the sagittal sutures occupies any oblique diameter. This is the sagittal suture. This is frontal suture. Sagittal suture can be seen in the any oblique diameter. Any oblique diameter we can see the sagittal sutures. And the posterior frontal. This is anterior frontally. This is the posterior frontally. So sagittal suture occupies any of the oblique diameter of the pelvis. So sagittal suture usually seen if it is in the left side, left oblique, in the right side, right of oblique can be seen. Okay. Then the anterior fondale is felt more easily because the deflection. So here is this is deflex. So we can see the anterior fondale can be seen very clearly. This is the anterior fondale. So we can see the anterior fondale very clearly can be seen because of the deflection of the head and at times, and is felt in the lower level than the posterior one. Usually it is usually seen in the posterior side in the anterior fondale, but because of posterior position, the anterior fondale can be seen in the very easily can be felt in the pervaginal examination. You can see from this picture, because of this is the posterior position. So when because of this posterior position, we can see this is in the normally how we can we are checking the anterior fondale. Sorry, this is the normally okay. This is the symphysis pubis. This is the sacral promontory. So this is when the normal mechanism like this, we can see the posterior fondale. Anterior fondale we cannot feel, but in this posterior position, the posterior fondale is in the back and the anterior fondale in the front. So we can feel the anterior fondale very clearly. Then we can see the mechanism of labor. In favorable circumstances, you already studied about the normal mechanism. So in the favorable circumstances, head is engaged through the right oblique diameter. Just I am showing the right oblique diameter. So I am holding my baby into the left hand. I already shown you the video, so you may be seeing the video. So I am holding my left hand and holding the pelvis in my right hand. Okay. So engagement takes place. The head through the right oblique diameter of the right occipital posterior. You can see this is the right occipital posterior position, and otherwise in the left oblique occipital oblique diameter, that is the left occipital posterior position. Okay. So this is the right oblique diameter. This is the right oblique. You can see this is the right oblique diameter. So the head engages in the right mechanism if it is that is in the right oblique diameter. The engaged diameter of the head is biparietal diameter. It is now you can see this is the biparietal. You can see the biparietal diameter, that is 9.5 centimeter. Engages in the okay, 9.5 centimeter in the antero-posterior diameter. This is you can see in the antero-posterior. This is the antero-posterior diameter, biparietal diameter, either a suboccipital frontal. Antero-posterior diameter is either suboccipital frontal 10 cm or occipital frontal 11.5 cm. So you can engage in diameter is head is biparietal 9.5 cm, and that of antero-posterior diameter is either this antero-posterior diameter. This is the antero-posterior diameter. This antero-posterior diameter is deflex head, that is a suboccipital frontal diameter of 10 cm. If it is completely flexed, partially flexed, that is 11 cm. Occipital frontal of 11.5 cm. Okay, deflection. The engagement is delayed. Next is the flexion. So with a good uterine contraction, the result is good flexion of the head. Head is good flexion and descend across until the head reaches the pelvic floor. You can see this head reaches the pelvic floor. Next is the internal rotation of the head. So when the head reaches the pelvic floor, the occiput when touches the pelvic floor, the occiput is the leading part, and when the occiput touches the pelvic floor, it rotates 3/8 of the circle. Only head is rotate, not body. Okay, so head is rotate 3/8 of the circle anteriorly to lie behind the symphysis pubis. So as the neck connotes, there is a flexion, there is a twisting occurring. So that neck cannot sustain such amount of torsion. The shoulder also rotates. Shoulder is in, so that now the shoulder is in left oblique diameter. So it rotates from left oblique to right oblique diameter. This is a 2/8 circle. Occupies the right oblique to the left oblique diameter. In left oblique in left occipital posterior with 1/8 of the circle torsion of the neck still behind the head, and thus the rest of the mechanism is like the same right occipital anterior position. So occiput escape under the symphysis pubis, further descent occurs and the occipital escape under the symphysis pubis, and after the occiput, and then by the movement of extension sinciput face and chin sweeps through the perineum. And the restitution, there is a movement of restitution to the extent of 1/8 of the circle in the opposite direction of internal rotation. So from the right to left direction when it was rotated internally, so left to right direction the external rotation of the head or restitution happened. Then next is the internal rotation of the shoulder. So when now the shoulder is in the oblique diameter, so it has to rotate anteriorly to come under the anteroposterior diameter. So the external rotation, same time the external rotation of the head also take place 1/8 of the circle. Same of the restitution of the shoulder rotates from the oblique to the anteroposterior diameter. Just now I shown you how from the occiput to the anteroposterior diameter the shoulder rotates. Then birth of the shoulder and trunk, the process of expulsion, same as in the occipital anterior, the anterior shoulder escape, then the posterior shoulder escape, and the whole body is delivered by the lateral flexion. So this is the that is the posterior, the occipital posterior mechanism usually occur. So the main points is you have to remember is the engagement and flexion, internal rotation of the head, restitution, then internal rotation of shoulder and external rotation of the head, and birth of the shoulder and the trunk. Okay, so if it is a favorable circumstances, this mechanism occur. In unfavorable circumstances, what will happen? Non-rotation or malrotation. If occur, what will be happen? Incomplete forward rotation. So if the head is not rotated, that is a incomplete forward rotation. So head is like this. If it is not, it has to rotate and comes to down. To like this. So incomplete rotation or through 1/8 of circle anteriorly, and the sagittal suture comes in the lie the bispinous diameter. So it will reaches the bispinous diameter. Therefore further anterior rotation is unlikely, and arrest in the position of deep transverse arrest. It will rotate. It will not properly rotate forward to comes under the symphysis pubis. So that will furtherly lead to the that is arrest occur. That arrest in the bispinous diameters arrest will be occur. So that's why it is known as deep transverse arrest. Next problem is non-rotation of the occipital. As a fetal head descends, when it descends, and deflection usually it will be flexed. So when it will deflex means like this. As a fetal head descends and deflection continues, there is a non-rotation of occiput resulting in oblique posterior arrest. So it will not rotate it will rotate to the anterior, but there should be flexion and internal rotation. So if the flexion is not occur properly, that is extension, deflection is continuous, and non-rotation occurs, then what will happen? That will lead to oblique posterior arrest. Next is the malrotation. In extreme deflection, if the deflection is continuous, the sinciput touches the pelvic floor first. So this is the sinciput. So usually if the flexion continues, occiput should be touch the pelvic floor. But the deflection continues, so sinciput touches the pelvic floor first, resulting in anterior rotation of the. So when the sinciput touches the pelvic floor, and what happened? The rotation of sinciput 1/8 of circle putting the occiput to the sacral hollow. So it will reach us to the sacral. This is a sacral hollow. It will reach us to this hollow of the sacrum. It reaches to the hollow of the sacrum. This is the trusen. This is in the trusen persistent occipital posterior position. Actually, there should be flexion and occiput should be the leading point. But the flexion not occur, deflection continues. Then what will happen? It will arrest in the occipital. This is a hollow of the sacrum. Arrest in the whole of the sacrum, that is called occipitosacral position. Okay. Persistent occipito-posterior position of the vertex will be occur. Then in favorable circumstances with an average size baby, good uterine contraction and an adequate pelvis such as an andropoid or species gynecol, spontaneous delivery may occur as phased pubis. If we already explained you, that is deflection occur, so it will arrest here. So that is a delivery occur by the phased pubis. You can see from this it is delivery like a phased pubis. It is facing to the pubis. Phased pubis occur. In unfavorable circumstances, the arrest occurs. Arrest is called favorable. If it is a favorable circumstance, then phased pubis delivery occur. Otherwise, if it is an unfavorable circumstance, the arrest occurs is called occipitosacral arrest. You can see from this picture, this is the there will be long rotation from, if it is favorable, this 3/8 rotation occur. If it is unfavorable, then short anterior rotation. You can see from this one, 1/8 of the circle, and if non-rotation occur, there is an arrest. Then short rotation occur, there will be 1/8 of circle and phased pubis will deliver. Then how the mechanism of phase, sometimes there will be phased pubis delivery will be occur. So mechanism, how we can manage the phased pubis delivery. Further descent occurs until the root of the nose. You can see this root of the nose hinges under the symphysis pubis. Then flexion occurs. It releases successfully the brow vertex and the sinciput vertex and the occiput out of the sacrum and perineum, and then phase is born by extension. Is by the flexion all the portion for deliver, and brow vertex and occiput will deliver by the movement of flexion, and by the extension phase is also born. Then restitution is the head is moved 1/8 of circle opposite to the direction of internal rotation, thus turning the face looks towards the mother's left thigh in the right occipital posterior and right thigh in left occipital posterior position. Then extension, by the movement of extension, external rotation, the occiput further rotates same direction, so that is same to the right side or the left side. 1/8 of the restitution of the angle placed. Finally, the face look directly towards the left thigh or the right occipital posterior, or right thigh in the left occipital posterior. Okay, so this is the main mechanism occurred in the phased pubis. Phased pubis delivered by the mechanism of flexion and extension. Okay, this is the mechanism of phased pubis. Next is the arrested occipito-posterior position. If there is failure of process, arrest in spite of good uterine contraction for about half to 1 hour after full dilatation of cervix per abdomen, the following condition can be assessed. You can see the size, how to be checked for the size of the baby, engagement of the head, amount of liquor, and the FHS should be checked. Okay, then vaginal examination should be done. That is, you have to check for the station of the head, position of the sagittal suture and occiput, degree of deflection of head, degree of molding and caput formation, assessment of pelvis at and below the level of obstruction. So all these things should be checked if the arrested occipito-posterior position. Then first, arrest in the occipito-transverse. You can see this is the arrest in the transverse position. It is the transverse oblique occipito posterior position. You can use the Ventouse, that vacuum extraction, and alternative methods such as manual rotation followed by force. We can manually rotate the head followed by the forceps extraction can be done, or forceps rotation and extraction done if no chance of displacement of head and accidental cord prolapse is absent, and rotation can be done at above or below the level of obstruction depending upon the type of pelvis. And if patient is it is not suitable for manual rotation, if there is mid pelvic contraction, we have to go for cesarean section, and if the baby is dead, we have to go for the craniotomy. This is the arrested in occipital transverse or oblique occipito posterior position. This is the transverse, this is the oblique. Okay, position we can do arrest if it is arrested in such situations. Next, occipital-sacral arrest. Occipital-sacral arrest is the sacral portion. It is if it is arrested. Head is engaged. The occiput descends below the ischial spines. It is arrested here. The ischial spine. The force is application and rotating head followed by the extraction as the same. Face to pubis is an effective procedure. And liberal mediolateral episiotomy should be done if the occiput remains at or above the level of ischial spine, and cesarean section should be considered. This is the arrest. Next, we can see the deep transverse arrest. Deep transverse arrest is the head is deep into the cavity. It is kept deep into the cavity. The sagittal suture. This is sagittal suture. Sagittal suture is placed in the transverse. That is a bispinous between the two spines. This is bispinous diameter, and there is no progress in descent of the head even after half to 1 hour following the full dilation. So head is deep in the cavity. You can see head is deep in the cavity, and the sagittal suture is placed in the transverse diameter, transverse bispinous diameter, and there is no progress in the descent of head after half to 1 hour following the full dilatation service. The arrest in occipito-transverse position may be the end result of incomplete anterior rotation. So that is, this is happening because of incomplete anterior, മുന്നോട്ടുള്ള റൊട്ടേഷൻ പ്രോപ്പർലി നടക്കാത്തതുകൊണ്ടാണ് this is the occipito-transverse arrest ഉണ്ടാകുന്നത്. And of oblique occipito-posterior position, or it may be due to non-rotation of commonly primary occipito-transverse position of normal mechanism of labor also may be lead to the deep transverse arrest. The causes are the faulty pelvis architecture, such as the prominent ischial spines. The ischial spine, if it is prominent, and flat sacrum. The sacrum is flat. The sacrum is flat or convergent side walls, and deflection of the head, and weak uterine contraction and laxity of the pelvic floor muscle. These are the causes of deep transverse arrest. And diagnosis: the head is engaged. The sagittal suture. You can see this is the shoulder suture, sagittal suture in the transverse bispinous diameter. We can feel. And anterior fond. This is the anterior fontanelle is we can palpable. We can, while we do the pelvic examination, we can palpable the anterior fontanelle, and faulty pelvic architecture may be detected. These are the diagnosis of deep transverse arrest. The management is vaginal delivery is found not safe because if the baby is big and or inadequate pelvis, we have to go for the cesarean section. And vaginal delivery is found safe. Any of the methods may be employed, such as ventouse, that is excessive traction force should not be used, and manual rotation and application of forceps, then forceps rotation and delivery with the key lines in the hands of expert person should be used the forceps. Then otherwise we have to go for the cesarean delivery, it is preferred. That is the management of deep transverse arrest. Next we can see the complication, complication of malposition, that is the obstructed labor due to head is deflex or partially extend, and maternal trauma due to forced delivery or persistent occipito-posterior position may cause third degree tear. Okay, then neonatal trauma due to forceps or ventouse delivery, and cord prolapse. A high head predisposes to early spontaneous rupture of membrane, which together with an ill-fitting presenting part may result in cord prolapse. And cerebral hemorrhage, the favorable upward molding of the fetal skull found in an occipito-posterior position can cause intracranial hemorrhage as a result of false cerebellum being pulled away from the tentorium cerebelli. So these are the main complication of the occipito-posterior position: obstructed labor, maternal trauma, neonatal trauma, cord prolapse, and cerebral hemorrhage. Next is the malpositions in the vertex presentation. Usually the position and the points, occiput points were. So that is the left occipitolateral position. The left this is the the anterior posterior, this is the lateral position. Left occipitolateral posterior, iliopectineal, here the occiput points to the iliopectineal line, right occipitolateral, then right iliopectineal line, and left occipito-posterior, the left right occipito-posterior, that is the right sacroiliac joint, direct occipito-posterior position, that is the symphysis pubis, direct occipito-posterior position, that is the symphysis, here is the symphysis pubis, and direct occipito-posterior position, that is the this is direct occipito-anterior position in symphysis pubis, direct occipito-posterior position in the sacrum. So that's all about the malposition. Just only we discuss about the occipito-posterior position. I think all of you clearly understood.